Give me 1 second. And this is our YouTube link. Yeah. Maybe I can start. Yeah, okay. So when I read the piece, I was 12 and my mother slapped me. This was a very lived experience for me. So the last line of that particular monologue is, my mother slapped me and my father went out for a bottle of sangria. My father did not go out for a bottle of sangria, but he was completely absent and in denial of me coming of age. There was so much confusion in my family to how to handle this girl blossoming into a woman. Their form of protection became breaking me down so that I do not feel the courage to step out, to challenge the boundaries, to try the boundaries and step out of the protection. But today, of course, I understand my mother's wounds, her maiden wounds, which were unhealed. But at that time, I did not understand. At the time, it was anger and rebellion. Yes, I mean, even my sister was somewhere in the participants. I think she messaged me right after that. Even when I was reading the monologues, I cried when I read this piece. I think it was somewhere similar experience even for her. So yeah, I just wanted to voice that out. And so when you say that it was an embodied experience, I just want to kind of mirror that back, that you literally experienced that. The slap is what you're saying, Kakoli, right? So there is a tradition like that, right? Where when you bleed, there is something about that. That slap is what you're saying. There was fear as well. There was fear. Suddenly I was told, you don't meet this person. Till the day before, somebody of the neighborhood was an uncle with whom I would be sent to eat a snack or something like that. And overnight I had to not speak to anyone. And if I would, then I would be a bad girl, right? So it's prohibited. You cannot do this, you cannot do that. I didn't exactly know the reason, but suddenly in Assamese, there's this word called Sua, something which is not hygienic and not banished from the mainstream life and living. So from now, Kumar Sua Hussain, you belong to that category now. So don't laugh a lot. Don't talk to ABCD when they come home. Don't open the door. Yeah, those were the kinds of words. Thank you so much, Kakoli. I'm sure it took a lot of courage to voice that. Thank you so much for giving it a voice.
I would like to add something. So regarding the FGM and every violence that is manifesting in all these eras that they were there with the patriarchy and all our ancestors who suffered, I think it's really important to see it from the level where like what happens in the body is happening in the thoughts and in the mind and in the collective So it's just an exact physical shape of what's deep inside. So this is one thing. And today I felt while reading how important is it really to voice out, even if it's just for an hour or something, even our thoughts, even the words that they are taking shape in the space, even just that. We are the one that we are turning the wheel. We are the one that we are changing history, even if we are not working or we don't have, if we didn't do many things in our life. The fact that we are really gathering around this and put it into the universe now, genetically we're doing something in our bodies, in the people that they are hearing, and in our neighborhood maybe. Sometimes we don't see what's happening or we don't know what's happening, but there is something going on. Yeah, just that. Thank you.
Thank you, Swat. Imagine in 2011, when I first did Vagina Monologues, look at here what we are doing. So something definitely happened from then to now, right? So now you have heard it. I don't know how this is going to further go forward. Yeah, so it is definitely, we're doing something, even in the physical realm. Yeah, and
Yeah,
definitely
of course.
I'd like to share something. Lots of things actually. So I think today has been a very powerful day with Vicky's conversation in the morning, which was incidentally starting with talk about menstruation and talking with crones and about the maiden. And Kakoli, when you shared about your experience, I remember when I had my first period. Um, Somehow, as a child, I remember very clearly the day it started, and uh, though my mom had told me about it, I felt I felt something important had happened to me, something that hasn't happened to anyone else, my brothers or anyone else that I know of. Yet my mom was very not hush hush, but like very nonchalant about it. Like, let's not make a big fuss about it. And then I started having cramps. And no one in my mother's family, my mother, her sister, my cousin, my grandmother, none of them had ever had cramps. So she dismissed the cramps as a figment of my uh, hypochondriac personality. And then there was a doctor who stayed close to our house, and my mom was talking to her, and she validated that yes, some girls do have cramps. And listening to the talks today, this memory was evoked for me, where I realized that the cramps were coming from some sort of body denial, some sort of my biology denial, which has not been my own, but it is part of the culture, part of my upbringing, which is shared by so many women across the world. And I also remembered that few years later, I was traveling alone with my grandmother in the train. And in the middle of the night, I went to the washroom and I realized I started my periods and I was so embarrassed. And there were all men in the train, and this is 1990s sometime. And my grandmother, I woke her up and I was scared she's going to be annoyed and embarrassed. And she was such, I think that was the most amazing thing I remember about her. She was just so natural about it. Straight away, she asked, "Do you have a sanitary napkin?" And I said, "No." And she just was wearing a sari. She cut off her fall and she said, "Go wear this." And I figured it out. But what I remember, like the memory or the essence of that moment, is a grandmother normalizing a human bodily function like sneezing or peeing or needing to, take a dump. And she just normalized it. And I just felt so, I think I was so comfortable in my skin. And that particular period felt so easy. And I think I was able to relate to it because we talked about how menstruation and the blood cycle was not such a bad thing for our grandmothers and women in our lineage. So I was really yeah, I mean, we've all experienced it in different ways, and I wanted to share that.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I mean, that's such a powerful experience. Just that validation and just to be seen as something, and yeah, the fear and to be calmed and to be seen back in that. That is such a powerful moment, and many women don't get that until they are much later in their life. When one person acknowledging, validating, it's a normal part of your biology. And I love that gesture. She tore the, imagine, I am so precious.
I remember that petticoat. It was a Hindi movie moment.
That's what she's wearing. She tore it and gave it to me. Yeah, how precious and
yeah. It's beautiful, and it also connects to the Vagina Monologues that was My Vagina is My Village, which is about the juxtaposition of the really horrendous experience and that joyful experience of feeling your vagina as a whole, which is keeping you there, which is fighting in a way to balance it off. And I feel like all my life, except for maybe these few moments with grandmothers or something else, which will crop up in the course of next few days, I feel those are the moments that really make me believe in myself, in my deeply feminine selves, that I can be part of a Vagina Monologues, and I can be on a Shakti Ship journey. And it hasn't broken that spirit, which is nature for me. So I think I was able to relate with the Vagina Monologues more deeply today because of these reflections and realizations.
Thank you so much, Anubha. It just, after your sharing, I've calmed down, I've come back to my body. I was still embodying the anger. And somewhere you're, with all the sisters talking, and finally when it came to you, I feel joy inside. So thank you for that. For me, the experience of my first menstruation was one of denial, feeling othered, because I didn't even know what a period was until it came. I think I had just finished the 8th grade at that time. And luckily I was at home and my mom told me what it was. But still, I wasn't convinced that it was something that I could have. I was like, why do boys not have it? And why am I so different from them? So I was in denial for a very long time. I couldn't accept my femininity. I didn't even know that there was something called femininity that I have to embrace. Not for a long time. It was only after my firstborn. She was born 5 years after our wedding, and I had PCOD. And finally, my period started coming properly after my firstborn, that I really started looking forward to periods because I knew my body was functioning properly. Till then, a period would just be something that they made me not touch anything, and so I'm like a touch me not. And there was shame around it. And then after the struggle of 5 years, and then getting my periods regularly was something like a wonder for me. And I think I started really revering the whole process only after I got into Shakti Ship. and realized the power of our menstrual blood, menstrual cycle. And now I know when I look at the calendar that this is the day I'm going to get my periods, and I will get it on that day. So to come to that stage has taken me a long time. But I'm so glad this journey has made me realize the importance of it. I remember when I had the menarche, the ritual, I didn't like it. I didn't like people coming over. I didn't want to be made to sit in a place where, I felt different. But now my daughter is looking forward to her menstruation because I've had a conversation with her. In fact, she's feeling offended that she's not getting her menstrual cycle. Everybody around her is getting it, and she's like, why am I not getting it? The other day, somebody younger to her in the family got it, and she said, I'm not going to that function. I've not got it. And I said, wow, is that something that you need to compare yourself with? So, from my journey, to see her embrace it, wanting it to come is absolutely amazing. And I feel happy for that. And I think I still have to open up to, kind of performing her menarche ceremony with grace and openness, because there might still be inhibitions around it. I'm not sure yet, but I'm open to surrender.
Thank you so much, Shriya, for bringing and naming that menarche and your own journey. You know how when when the woman shifts, how that effect trickles. It's like it just goes. It's just so powerful to witness that. And yeah, and I also have seen hands. So Megha, just yeah.
Yeah.
Shall I let me also?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to add, really connected to grandmothers, because like being where I was, I'm born on an island, indentured labor. For me, my first blood meant restriction. That's what I had in mind, and I feel that's what a lot of women have. It's like restriction and punishment and dirtiness. And it took me over 30 years to understand that the grandmothers are very intelligent. What they were doing, the food that I was fed ghee, I was fed jaggery, I was fed moong dal, I was fed khichdi, and it wasn't for nothing. I was told not to go there, not to, because I tried to keep my blood hidden for a day. Because I'm not going to tell them I'm bleeding because it would be a restriction. And it isn't. And I feel like this is what also, as we do this work, especially as women, to find reclaiming that language, to begin to see the other side of it. Because the more I hear stories, there's a sense of women always feeling that we've been punished and put aside. There's more to that. There's unspoken. These rites and ritual are not spoken. They are just like you just put into that. So for me, my grandmother definitely was, nothing was spoken, everything was done, you follow it. And it took me over 30 years when I joined Shakti for me to go back to my roots and find the beauty there, the intelligence, the wisdom. Like why we even told not to touch our altar. Especially in Hindu houses, these are consecrated spaces. You just don't put a god or goddess there. There's invocation that happens. So there's a reason. Like why you don't go even under a tamarind tree. Why we don't go in a temple. All of these are science. They were scientists. So really, and that's how we started today with the grandmothers. I feel like they're coming back again, even very present with us. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Megha, for bringing your grandmothers and the old wisdom back. Its voice back. And I feel like like the maiden.
I just want to add,
I think that's go ahead. You were saying something.
And just to end, like, I'm going to be a grandmother. You're going to be a grandmother too. Like, we have to remember the phenomenal role we are about to play, we will play as grandmothers. And it took time for me to accept that I'm going to be a grandmother. I don't need to womb kids, but I'm going to be one. So I'm like readying ourselves on this path now. That's why we're here. Ready yourself, all women out there, all vaginas, to meet younger vaginas.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's so powerful, you know, to ready to be grandmothers, because it's so powerful. Yeah, to hear that, because in India, you know, it's such a, I always hear this, oh, they call me auntie, children call me auntie. I love that. Like when, you know, kids call me that. I know that, oh, wow, you know, I am in a different place. They mirror me back that, you know, this is how I am seen, because I can't see that maturation or that whatever has happened for me, you know, and that there's a power in fully embodying and owning that. Yeah. Yeah. And I also want to say that, you know, the maiden might always resist, you know, for us to say, now I know, but then I didn't want it. Yeah. So, you know, so the maiden might still resist it, even if you are all blood everywhere in the house and most sacred, you are fully into all this. But it might be possible that your daughter is not just with you, she also goes out into the world. She goes into another, you know, so place where she might also find this resistance. And I think it's not about the menarche, but it's about mirroring her consent and her choosing in this movement. That she has a say, it's her body. It's not my ritual, it's her ritual, it's her body. It's she who decides if she wants the menarche or not. It's she who would decide how she wants it, who I want it. And if you have another answer, you need to convince her and get her will. If she doesn't want, then you don't do that. So I think that's where you're also mirroring her autonomy. You're mirroring that, yes, you matter. What opens for you matters. So I feel like it's not about really the menarche or the ceremony, but it's that initiation for her to know that she matters. She is valid. She is important. She is the source of life, and life will come through her. You know, I think that mirroring, and sometimes in rituals and sometimes in this space, we forget that. So even if, you know, so that is what we always, it's not what we will do or what it is, how she knows that she matters and she's precious in this blood. Yeah, and it's wow, you know, how you see her, how you mirror her, whether she has menarche or not is not that. More than that is that, you know. So I also wanted to voice that, because that resistance is part of that age. So yeah, and menstruation, I know, is a core. It's such a core aspect in our Shakti journey, in our cyclic journey, right? It keeps coming up in different ways, and it comes. The pain also comes. The pleasure also comes. I feel it really deepens our containment. That's my take on that. My own, based on my own experience.
From morning, I've been sitting with this question, Rekha. It is a question to myself, actually. I've been asking it. I understand the wisdom behind menstruation and how our human body works. But if I'm working somewhere outside, is there space for it? You know, if I'm working in a organization, I have to report to them, and I can't take a day off or I cannot slow down either. You know, I realize the wisdom behind slowing down during menstruation, but sometimes I find myself doing during menstruation because I don't have a choice.
Right.
And then it makes me wonder, is it a matter of choice, or if I have to exercise that choice, do I have to look for something else to do where I am my own boss and I can take the time off? Again, it's about finding my power in that moment. And, so I've been like sitting with this. I think many women might resonate with this, but I do. I mean, definitely I do.
And I think it's that question, do I matter? Do I matter to myself? Then will I start voicing it at my work? we need to start thinking about it. There's so many women here, so many countries are changing their laws. They are saying, and that's happened because that means that in that land, the women's power and women's mattering has really increased. And they have voiced and they've asked for it. They've shown up and they've said, no, this is, so there is more awareness around that mattering. Yeah. And I feel like that's a conversation. If I know I fully matter, this is an important part of me, this is connected, and it is not it's a biological thing. Your menstrual cycle is connected to our health and wellness, very much part of that. So, yeah, so to voice, if I know this is a core part of me, when this happens, functions very well, my ability of what I bring is a very different lens that none of you can really bring if it's all men, right? I bring a different lens, as me. So this is important. I want to start talking about it. I want to champion this here and say, how can we start having conversation? So I think it again comes back to that I matter, the mattering. And that's where most of our trauma also is. And it's also is from that very moment of our bleeding. And the mattering, really owning the mattering becomes so important. I'm seeing a lot of chat. I've not looked at any chat.
I think, Rekha, in addition to that, I feel that a lot of this do I matter also comes from a space of us being tutored and taught to make ourselves small.
Right.
And it becomes such an ingrained habit that a lot of us, I at least, struggle with coming into my light. I find myself taking too much space and I'm like, oh, maybe I should make myself small so that others can take up space. So that, and it's probably not, it's just like everywhere. It's not just in India, but it's all over the world. I see women making ourselves small, body shamed for how we are, and we'll never be model like. So there's always something we can be body shamed for. And there's a constant shift that keeps happening where we are body shamed. When we start taking a stand to say we matter, men ridicule us and other women make fun of us. So it's not easy kind of building that within, because externally everything shouts just the opposite.
Right. Then that's where the mattering has to become in ourselves.
Yeah.
That's why we cannot move from the mattering only in the head and the belief. It cannot be positive thinking. That's not going to help in this. It has to be in the body. It has to be in our stance. So we really have to see what part of my body is not part of this mattering, and can I love it fiercely, this part? What part is not part of this mattering? Can I? And it's our own movement, I feel. And it's also not somebody needs to dismiss us, right? We look around us, we see how women shrink. I have to tell like when we travel in the metro, I see men will come sit next to me, they open their legs and sit. And I am like, please, what, legs like this way, like I need to sit this way. So there's no place. And I tell that to my dad the other day. I was with my dad and my dad sat where I said, Dad, bring your legs together. Women, you won't let us do that, but you can do that. You can't do that, And my dad is very innocent. He is just sitting. He's like 80 years old. So, but he really realized that, oh yeah, that's true. They're not even thinking because they matter. They have been told 200 times that they matter. So wherever they go, they only have to think about them. They don't have to think about anybody else around. But we are told to think about everybody else around before we sit, before we stand, before we, and it's such a, that's where we meet. I think who was saying that today? I think Julianne was saying that. That's where we start meeting every part of the hiding, every part of us. And we have to keep bringing light into that part. And I feel it's it is not an easy journey for sure. How many do we see around us fully owning and living it? So again, like Vicky, what Vicky said, and I think even who else said that? We do it together. Vicky said that we do it.
Enolia.
Enolia also, yeah, Enolia also said, Vicky also said, this women's work is not individual. Women's work is collective. We do it together. That's why we have collective trauma. We wonder why men don't have that kind of collective pain body. But we have such a pain body because we are the wombs. We connect everything. We are interconnected. And I think when we can go together and say, so I think women's circle in every corporate company of, so it's like, that is, I feel that's what my take is from all the elders today, is that, every time, what do we do? Women coming together. Like, oh yeah, we are doing that. We have to do it more. To do it more.
Rekha, about something you were mentioning about the legs when you said to your dad, it reminded me of a deep anger that I had since long time ago, is the archetype that we have in our collective as what we define as a woman. And when you don't fit in it, where do you stand in all this? For example, for me, I was never this Barbie girl. I was never this, the soft that likes to play with toys. I was wild. I was strong. I was the leader. So this is hard, in societies where we don't have in our books or in our education or wherever we go in our societies, mothers, wherever we get in touch with people, where there is no archetype of other than this submissive women that all the men likes. It creates a lot of pain and a lot of work to accept our femininity that could be defined in a different way. So yeah, I would like to hear from you, and if other has something to say about this. Or
a few days back, I had this with this Vagina Monologues. I was having a conversation with Annie where she was talking about, she shared this with another woman and the feminist. So we were having this conversation, and we were talking about how our knowing of ourselves is through the other. Is 99% of it is through the male gaze. We don't even realize how much through the male gaze we see ourselves.
Absolutely.
It is shocking. So in a way that what each woman's like, I know that my whole life I was such a feminist, but I didn't realize still it was the male gaze and the male narrative. I was, fully this. It's only, I think, when my whole life kind of collapsed and I had to kind of step back from the man I loved so much, and to realize that, to separate from him and completely come to myself and to realize I'm like, who I am is so different from any image that I see, and I don't have to conform to anything. And it's every day I have to remind, because I will have this in a voice I hear say that, oh, but you can't, I have this voice, and I'll be like, I don't care. That's me. And I think that is very precious for every woman.
Yeah.
And as women, we also mirror this with women.
Exactly.
She has to be a certain way, like she says, fuck, great. I had such a resistance to that word my whole life. I have no, that's a word. I love her. Say it, Yeah, whether I say it or not, it doesn't matter really. But, so I think seeing every woman as like nature, diversity, so I think this journey of getting out of the male gaze, cultural gaze, every gaze, and coming into our own is a humongous process. I think it's I don't know how you all feel about that, but I feel it's a humongous. It's a everyday, every moment reminder and becoming aware of that part which is still in that gaze, like body shape. I am the heaviest I've ever been in my life. And actually, I'm not that heavy. I love my body. I don't see myself My whole life I saw myself fat. And now when I put on weight and look in the mirror, I don't see it. It's like ridiculous. I don't know what's happening to me. And I hear
Yeah.
my mom and how sweetly they'll say, oh, don't eat that. And I'm like, what are you saying? Like how subtly that, sentence my aunt said, oh, you have become, you've put on weight, you've the most from in your life. And I feel like I'm full. It's this, and it's constant feeding, and yeah, I don't know how you all deal with it. I'm sure you all meet it, right, every day.
I actually wanted to add to something that Shriya's question that she posed, and something that Vicky also said this morning. In the name of equality, creating equality especially in the workplace, and I think in the mainstream world, what is being done is tokenism and of creating more women in the image of a man and calling that equality. I see that day in, day out, and like how Shriya was reflecting, I also have felt ridiculed many times when I brought this idea as well, almost brushing it off, dismissing it like an old ancient idea. And this is the new age world where speed is thrill and you need to be on the move all the time. But today when Vicky voiced that, right, that's when I realized, and I actually felt like all throughout my life, all that I really enjoy doing is creating with my hands. I love cooking food. I love being in the kitchen. I used to feel so alienated from myself when I had to sacrifice the joy of cooking because I had to be at work by a certain time. I think for me, it has been the silent conversation with myself that my journey is really to reclaim all of this that I really, really enjoy. I love being in the kitchen. I love cooking. I love feeding people. So, and many things. I love arranging flowers. And I remember even while growing up, my relationship with adornment. I love this whole concept of shringar, not just the human body, but everywhere around. Adornment appeals to me. And that was looked at as a waste of time, frivolous, right? So I want to reclaim all of that because I feel that's really what women's work is, right? So, yes, just wanted to share that.
Blessed be. Blessed be. And you are claiming we get to witness some of the pictures.
Yeah. Yes.
So precious. Yeah. I know that Kavya had raised her hand sometime back, and I think Diksha had also raised her hand, right? Do you want to share, Kavya, maybe then Diksha? Is there anything? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. As I keep listening to these conversations, I went back to like when the conversation about the first menstrual, blood, when it arrived for me, I was terrified. I was prepared for it. I knew it is going to happen. I knew that, okay, I know this is coming, but I was just so terrified and I just started crying. And also in the space that it happened. So I got my first blood when I was attending my sister's wedding. And it happened at the wedding house. And I was like, oh my God, what just happened? And everyone on that evening, I had to perform Bharatnatyam at her reception, and everyone got to know that I got my blood because everyone was like, where's Kavya? Why isn't she dancing? And yeah, it was just like a wildfire, the news spread. But I remember my mother was also a little like, oh my God, okay, what do I do now? And because we do have like our own rituals that go on when this happens. And like my aunts are also like trying to tell my mother, don't worry, we'll just take her to the house and all of that. And I was crying, the only two, like even now when I close my eyes and remember, the two people who were very happy at that moment were my grandmother and two is my little sister who was like 7 or 8 year old back then. And she came in, my grandmother's like, wow, you got your period, that's nice. And then she walked in and she's like, why is Kavya crying, my sister? And then she just told her, when my other cousin got her first blood, what happened to her has happened to her. And then I'm like, oh my God. And both of them are just happy. And today I was remembering that because even our workshops were around elders and maiden. And somewhere I feel like those two are so connected in their own ways. And, I feel there is like this innocence that is there in on both these ends, like so much more. And yeah, so also about, the second that resonated with me is taking that time out while, while I'm on my period while working. There is, for some reason, that needs an explanation, that needs like a, okay. And there's this, even I personally feel the sense of holding back when I'm talking about it at a workplace. And I mean, as in, I'm on my period and I need some rest, that even to say that is, there's a hesitation. And yeah, I mean, I like always, I feel like whenever I can, if there is anyone who I'm working with for, like, even in any setup, if it's women, I would like to get that culture of saying that, whatever it is, those 3 to 4 days, just don't do anything. I would encourage you not to do anything and take the time off. It doesn't matter if whatever you're doing while taking the time off. But then I would like to, state that take that time off. It's fine. So yeah, that's something I wanted to share.
Thank you so much, Kavya. And I think we just have to imagine to whom we have to say this to, that they would be born if we didn't have menstruation. It is that important. If every woman on this planet today stopped bleeding, that's the end of population. We don't realize if men had menstruation, it would be on every poster. There would be songs and plays and ballads written on it. And it would be the talk of the town. It would be the highlight of everything. So I think we have to fully, claim it in a way that it's our own. It's that I think that it's nothing to do with the men. It's nothing to do with the world. I think the distance is here. The distance is within some distance, something for, I think we have to explore that. Yeah. And I know we are talking about grandmother. So I also want to voice that not everyone might have that, that the grandmother acknowledgement is also, because I don't remember that at all. I think my mom was, my mattering of my blood. I've never had a relationship with the blood where I could never speak it. I was always in this, like, if something is off with everyone, I was never silenced by my mother, never shamed for my blood. And she was actually my support. She never even told me that you don't light a lamp. She said, I don't believe that there is anything that you cannot do. But I usually don't light. This is how she really told me. I don't light lamp at the altar. But it's all right if you want to light. If you choose that, that's how she said. And I feel she's such a simple person, but that's how I remember the day I had my blood. I was very excited because my mom had already told me. But I remember my grandmother, she was beaten down. She was like, that's another, so there's a trauma in the line. But there was no response from my grandmother at all. And I still remember it's a dusk time, evening. It's only my mom. My dad didn't live with us. He lived far away at that time. It was just my mom, my grandmother, and me. And I was the most excited person. And my mom didn't know what to do because my grandmother was not excited, or she didn't have any response. And my mom was in between, didn't know how to be with this one who is so excited, and her mother was not responding. I wonder what I'm thinking about that I need to talk to my mom about it. So what was it for her being in that? Because it was it was, I felt at that time, like, what's up with these, what is up with, that was going on in my head. Like, they're not excited. I'm so excited. Why is nobody not doing it? Nobody's acknowledging me. And that's where I think my body felt that little bit. When someone looks at you, when you're so excited and they don't mirror that excitement, something in us shrinks. Like you feel, what's happening? And we experience that often as women. We're very excited about something and the world doesn't mirror it back. Looks at us like, what? So, that shrinking. Oh, there's a lot of messages on our, yeah. Yeah, I get very passionate. Menstruation is like, I get very passionate about this topic.
Rekha, Priyanka has raised her hand.
Priyanka, just come on. Yes, yeah.
Hi, am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes. Give me 1 second. Where are you? Yes, I'm going to bring you here.
Yeah, thank you for the grandmother story because I have one and I must share that and relate it to menstruation. We're a middle class North Indian family growing up in Calcutta and a huge joint family. And she is the matriarch and very strong woman, very liberated, but very rigid views when it comes to menstruation and doing the puja. So when I had my periods and I would do my puja, every day. And she told me that 5 days you can't do it. Maximum third day you have to have a shower, head shower, and then you do it. I picked up a fight with her. I said, I'm sorry, but why? Like it's not written in the Gita, it's not written anywhere. You show me a proof, as in grade 5 arguing with her. And then I had a friend who was she's a Punjabi, a Sikh. And I remember going to her house and her nani took me up to the Puja Guru Granth Sahib room to show me what that thing looks like. And I remember telling Nani that, Nani, I'm having my periods, maybe I shouldn't enter. And Nani said, Hamme kuch nahi hota, aap aa jao beta. That evening, I went back and I fought with my grandmother even more. I said, if Reshma's Nani can let her touch the Guru Granth Sahib, why will you not let me get to the puja? Okay. And I remember the whole house telling, becoming very nervous that why is this little kid engaging in this argument with her? But I just remember feeling that it was not okay. My grandmother realized that she has a kid in the house who's not going to listen. She went the next day to the market and got me small gods and goddesses. She said, you can do your puja separately, but don't come and touch my puja. I have to tell you all, I still have those small gods and goddesses in my mother's bedroom and in her dressing table. I used to have my little puja and I would do the puja in the main room. But those 5 days in that house, I used to make sure and do my puja in the smaller place. And then when I left home and, went on for my master's to JNU and all, I carried that little puja with me everywhere.
Wow.
So while my grandmother could not get rid of her, what she had conditioned and grown up with, she still had that modernity that, okay, I have to give her space, But that is a big thing with me. And I always carry that with me.
Thank you so much for that story, Priyanka. It's such a precious story. Yeah, it's like Shakti, that
yes,
that
absolutely.
Shakti, validated and yet kept what,
Yeah.
it's
And another small thing. We were talking of men, and I remember also being heartened that we had one man listening. When I had my first period, I remember my mom, everyone saying, Acha, okay, be careful. It may hurt, it may pain. And I told my father, can you just write me a letter? Because I didn't know what it was going to be like, am I going to get cramps? What's going to happen to me? That can you just write me a letter so that I can be excused from the PT class? Okay. So he wrote me one. And that day I remember my teacher also said, okay, you sit. When I came back that evening, my sister and I, we've been lucky to have a lovely man as a father. And we always say that we are what we are because of him. He came and pulled me aside and he said that I don't think so I'm going to do it for you next time. You should realize this is something normal and natural and go and do everything you feel like when you have your periods. And so none of the women in the house told me that, but my dad told me that, So there are times when you have men's stories which are so empowering in a woman's life too.
Right, definitely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Priyanka.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have a question for Priyanka.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
did you get the answer from the wise woman why you couldn't do the puja while you're
That's
menstruating?
because in Hinduism, when a woman is menstruating, she's considered to be impure. So if you touch the area where there is religious worship, you're making that space impure too. It's so bizarre now when I'm trying to, kind of explain her logic. But all of us who are Hindus in this room will understand where that comes from. That
I think I got an answer in a book for Maya Tiwari that she talks about clarification of these things because she goes beyond impure and pure, because it's not also in the Vedas like this. Because our energy, when we are menstruating, it's in downward. The Shakti prana goes downward. While you are doing puja, it's an upper direction.
Prana energy, yeah, it's the prana.
Yeah, exactly.
Lovely.
So that's the scientific or biological answer to clarify this dark answer of impure and feel the shame in us. It's just, it doesn't go in the same direction while we're doing it. I wanted to share this with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And it's also the death energy. When we bleed, we are in death energy, and temple and all these places. But there's another thing, it's even more powerful. It's not even just this, because death or black is something which sucks everything towards it. So usually they told girls or this to not go into temples. The thing is that because the prana that is established in the deity or in the room gets drawn into her, or it walks away with her, it goes away with her. That energy can get really attached, and if her body and nervous system sometimes is not ready, it can also she can have like a kundalini awakening, or she can go, all those are okay. My question is, let me decide. Why are you dictating terms for me? Let me decide and let me take responsibility for it. Tell me this can happen, then fine. But it's this dictation that happens, and then and today I don't think that kind of energy even exists in temples and places that, actually it might be better to bring menstruating women into these spaces to lift up some sacredness of many places. I feel like women are so much alive, to let us come and revive some of the energies which are so dead in so many temples, famous places, and it's deadening more. It's there's no heart there. So I feel like, it's interesting. Women have to just call shots and say, hey, I will decide, you back off, don't give me terms. That, I think that's important. Yeah, Diksha, I know you have been raised your hand from a long time.
Hi, hello. Can everyone hear me? Yesterday,
Yes.
I think in the morning, someone was telling her change the headphones.
You're
I don't
like
know. I had
mysterious place because you're muted, but we can hear you.
so I'm logged in from two devices.
I know,
but
yes,
there's no lag, right? Yeah, because the laptop
Lag.
speaker is like bad, but I would like to see all of you in these red flowers, and I don't want to miss in the small screen of phones. So yeah. I don't know. I had when this was going on the monologue, I had back-to-back stories to share and very powerful. But I feel so moved to be here, and I think I'm going to say it again and again and again. Like, I feel so moved to be in this space, and I really want to acknowledge that a space like this exists where we are talking about it and where we are going live, and there are women and there was a man. It just like it gives me so much of love pouring out, and there's so much of hope and positivity. This I'm on my periods, and I usually I'm like a dead body on my periods, like honestly. And this time I'm more like a dead body because I'm on like complete bed rest and my back cannot move, and I'm sitting here from last 2 days and doing this, and I think there's some very powerful energy which is making me sit here. And I've discovered so many new positions with 5 pillows and sitting comfortably, which I think I'm going to do every period, like spreading my legs, and that is how we need to sit. And this happened yesterday. When I said that accidentally I came in the room and I had to put the panty because I could not lift my leg and the blood flow, and it felt I'm feeling goosebumps when I'm saying, and the blood flow, and it was, and I used to wonder that when we are spreading our legs in the washroom and we are bathing, it's happening because of the water, that there's ease. But I really think it's the position. And now there's an inquiry that what if we just free flow for those 3 days and don't, because it's not the, I realized today in the uh, first session after, like in the grounding when I was talking to Megha, that the pain is moving and then it's stuck. And I realized that it was not the pad because the panty is loose. It's the line. Like I felt a strong urge to remove and just free flow. Like there shouldn't be anything on my leg. And I couldn't do it because I can't do it. Like the blood will go everywhere. But and I don't know. Like I would like to talk more about alternatives and periods and napkins and everything, but that's a topic for later. But I really want to acknowledge this space that the fact that I can talk about it is very moving for me. Is very moving for me and for the generations coming forth. So I would like to share. I don't know how, but please stop me if you are wrong. Like if you're very, I see the time is like way too ahead, but please stop me because I might go. Like I won't realize. So the first period story, I was I was in a wedding and I was in class 6 and I was in Raipur attending my some cousin's wedding and I started bleeding and I didn't know. I didn't know period. I didn't know anything. I don't know. It had to happen like this. uh, Just 3 days before boarding the train and coming to Raipur, my friend and we were walking out of school, and I was telling, come fast, the rickshaw is going." And she said, "I can't walk fast." And I said, "Why?" She said, red is coming out. Only this. And the conversation stopped, and I couldn't even talk more about it because we were like, we left. So in the wedding, I thought that I can go, like, I'll go. I didn't know how to talk about it because I thought there's something. If I would not have had this conversation with my friend 2 days back, I would have just ran to my mother and said something is wrong. Red is, but because I knew, and I don't know why. Like I thought I'll go back home and I'll ask her how she told to whoever she told and what needs to be done. So I was bleeding for I think 24 hours, entire day. I think I was going to the washroom and doing something and cleaning the pan. I don't know. I have no memory. I have just memory of this girl who was in that Sangeet day. Everyone is telling and I used to dance and it is like, where is that girl? Why is she not dancing? And I'm standing in the corner and wearing a skirt and thinking the blood will flow and all that. Somehow I went to sleep. Next morning when I woke up, I was at the third floor and it's all 4 floors and an Indian wedding is happening and there are so many people. And I woke up and I'm going nicely and I reached the ground floor and then I went to the washroom and I crossed I don't know how many people. I don't know if they will watch it any day and they saw me or not. And I went to the washroom and it was a light pink nightsuit and it was all blood. I came out and I opened the door and I saw the first lady and I said, "Can you call my sister?" She's like, "Who?" And I said, "Deepika, can you call her?" My sister came. I turned and I'm crying and I showed her. And I don't know, she took me in the corner and she didn't explain. She called my mother, she called my Masi, and then they took me secretly to a corner. And then I remember my mother was very like paranoid because I think she did not expect, I don't know what she was feeling because we never have had a conversation about it. I was in class 6 and it was early. I think she was panicked and paranoid. She didn't say a word. I just remember a mother who's like really paranoid, and my Masi comes and just opens the panty and tells me this is how you put the pad, and that's it. And all the washrooms were busy, and I could not. So they sent me to the neighbor's house, and there I'm trying to wash all this blood by myself and crying. And I don't even remember if I had pain, what pain. I just remember tears. And And I have no memory. After that, I have no memory of how I felt in any of the periods. I remember there was pain because once I was sent to the doctor, and that time also my mother didn't come. Like it was early morning, and my dad took me, and then he took me to the school, and then doctor was checking me. I remember there was a lot of pain, and they took me to doctors, and I was put on medicines, but no one talked about it. I never remember my mother giving me a hot water bath for that pain. I was put on medicines, homeopathic medicines, but there was no conversation. There was another incident. I was at school, and I was in class 8.
Diksha, I might pause you. I might interrupt you. I'm so
Okay.
sorry to do that. But we are coming to our time, and I think I'm seeing that everyone is also kind of, our energies have been up since six in the morning and even before. So, but I really want to acknowledge your story and also the stories of all women, how that movement or that moment, which is so precious, sometimes we have to navigate by ourselves without really being told what has just happened. The preciousness of that moment, right, is kind of not acknowledged or validated. And that stays on in our life, and so just want to give it a voice. Yeah, and you are here. Yeah, and you are here speaking about it. And you're talking about free bleeding, and you're talking about that. And it's, I think, in spite of it all, that's also something that's so precious about a woman, that the hardships that we move through is just unimaginable. And then we still show up and we do, and we are in life. And I think that is something also part of being with me. So thank you so much for sharing that. And sharing for also all those, for all the women. There is resonance in this.
There's one thing I would just like to add. So the first time I realized this was in a women's circle in Rishikesh, and I did not even know. And that was my first time sitting in a women's circle. So I did not even know that there's a women's circle and I need to address it. And I cried and I cried, and I'm sharing it, and it just came. I had no memory of that pink night suit girl. It just came that day, all these years. And there has been continuous disassociation with the vagina, and it's very new that I think I'm going to stop the word disassociating, which itself is a very big change after like 29 years. But today I want to acknowledge one thing, that while I'm sitting here and narrating the story, there are not tears. My body is not shivering. I am not having that anger against my mother or my sister or my Masi. This compassion, right? And for that, today, I think in the morning, I joined this panel discussion pretty much in the end, and he said, "Who are we to control?" I forgot the name of the lady. Who are we to control? And maybe it has to, because it has to happen itself, right? And I just want to voice it out that I'm sharing that story, and I'm also telling it myself and everyone else that there's no pain in throat or anywhere, which I feel most of the time. There's so much of compassion for the mothers and everyone, and I did not even know that. It's very new because it's like I'm feeling right now, and it gives me hope. Hope is the word I would like to bring in again in the dictionary, which has been lost from a really long time. Yeah,
and
thank you.
And can I give you one more word? I don't resonate with hope anymore so much. I'll give you possibility. Hope is again about future. Right now, there is a possibility opening up as you're meeting your body and your compassion. You're becoming aware of something happening. It's already happening. So I want to voice that something is already happening, Diksha. And that you're not shaking, and you're finding this compassion for your mother and grandmother. So, it's already here. And thank you for sharing with us, and we are grateful to witness you in. Yeah. So I hope you take good care of yourself and also feel that whatever you felt as you shared, and to give it a place. And we are now also transitioning into evening. We've had a long day, and we have a blessing as we transition, and before I even go into the blessing, I want all of us to just take a moment. This feels like a canal through which we kind of all, I don't know, pushed through or flowed through, or so just to take a few breaths. And if you want to shake your hands, and if you want to stand up, turn, tap your bodies, hug yourselves, just to. And some of you might be bleeding, some of you might be on your way to bleeding, some of you might be ovulating. Just, to acknowledging wherever you are in this journey, wherever you are. And with the prayer, we will close. So I want to say that, do whatever you need to also, water. There are different ways you can cleanse as you go. So you can go to sleep. I'm going to have a full shower after this, and get ready to go to bed. So we are back up again, and all of you, some of you, Emily has been there early morning, and then she's back here early night, late into the night, and Emily is here when early morning in California. It's so wonderful to see you, Emily. Yeah, long days, I know. Yeah, so to all of us, you've all been here and patiently here. I was thinking maybe there are only 3 people, and I'm seeing no, people many have stayed back. So I want to know if Penelope is here. Yes, Penelope is here. Penelope is going to say so. So thank you so much, ma'am. Before that, to my beautiful team of sisters, and it's been an honor to have this discussion and this sharing with you. Yeah, Kakoli, Shriya, Swad, and Anubha. Yeah. And our journey continues. We will meet again, right? So it's like, blessed be. I'm going to release all of us from the spotlight and bring. Did I have Penelope? If you're going to be singing or something, are you
showing?
Yes. Yeah.
Which came yesterday. Do you see?
Yes.
So my neighbors were having a fire, and one of them comes out of the shop with this, and the other one says, "You're getting rid of that finally?" He says, "Well, I don't know what else I'll do with it. My parents gave this to me years ago." And I felt called to it, and I ran over and I said, "What is that? What is that?" I said, "I'll take that."
Wow.
This is my cedar Davy that has come to me just yesterday. And I was called this movie that we watched, Return to the Mother. I went on one such journey and was called away from my grandmother's cedar that grounded me. And I found myself stranded in a parking lot in Mexico for 5 months. And I thought I must have really screwed up because I didn't make it where I was supposed to go. And here I am now. The mother has returned me home. And I don't know if you can see, but there are maiden, mother, and crone cedar trees on this land.
Yeah. Your voice is muted now.
Okay. There you go.
And if you're singing, it would be good if you change this to original sound, the setting. Otherwise, the voice is going to break.
Huh, original
If you
sound.
go to mute, if you go to the mic, and if you
Same system. Same system, MacBook Air speakers.
Rekha, you are on mute now.
Audio settings.
yes. Do you
I
see
don't know.
setting?
I see there's a lot of different settings
Go
here.
to the bottom down. You see audio settings.
Yes.
Click on the audio setting.
Okay.
When you open it, you will see audio profile.
Mm-hmm.
And that you see click the second one, original sound for musicians.
Okay.
Yeah? Yeah.
Yep.
Great.
Okay. Hopefully that works well. I have a poem, actually. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I wrote this yesterday after the Vagina Monologues when I couldn't find anything online that resonated with sleep. Okay. This is a poem about my sleep, and I hope that it resonates. My sleep comes when it wants to. I don't understand my sleep. I don't understand. Oh, hang on a minute. That's okay. Oh, my sleep comes when it wants to. Sometimes she misbehaves and eludes me the way my waking dreams dance and tease without becoming solid. My sleep, she comes only when invited softly and given due respect. My sleep may come for me and take me on adventures through time and space to meet long lost loves. Or my sleep may taunt me, and just as I smell her, she recoils, and I toss and turn. I lay there and breathe. I pray to the goddess of my soul. I supplicate the will of the Great One, and I lay with my thoughts. I feel the pulse of my heart beating. I lay my hands over my yoni. I lay my hands over my breasts. I try to warm them, bring them comfort. Laying there alone feels so awkward, like I'm being abandoned by the sleep train. I came too late to the platform. I broke the rules. I had sex too late last night. I talked emotional things too late. I had screen time without my red glasses. I forgot my bath. I forgot my yoga. I forgot my herbs, my specially formulated drops of this and that. I am alone now. My heart beats. I lay in my bed, too hot, too cold, too hungry, too full, too stimulated, too empty. It's no one here. The cast has gone home. The event is over. My mom forgot to pick me up. My sleep comes when it wants to. I don't understand my sleep. I don't understand death either. Sometimes it takes so long to come, and sometimes not sleeping feels overwhelming. I whisper to myself, and when I least expect it, I'm out.
Thank you so much, Ben. May sleep meet us unexpectedly tonight, as we prepare for it. And may we be easy on us. And, gently, kindly. May we retreat into our own dens, away from screen and comfort to the eyes. Bring some comfort. So take good care. Yeah. Drink something warm. And may you have a restful night. And those who are moving into the day, may you have a beautiful, blessed day ahead. And may you get some rest during it. Blessed be everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Penelope.